Hi, welcome back to my knitting podcast. I am Vanilla, and I'm the woman behind the Simply Vanilla Stitching Knitting Podcast, which is the one you've landed on right now. This is my little corner of the internet that I share with so many other lovely creators, where I talk a bit about my knitting, my crafting, and all the bits and bobs that I go around my day-to-day life with. You are kind of a little substitute for my husband, so he doesn't have to get tired of me talking all about yarn and knitting. But I'm thankful that you're here, so thank you very much. And I think we're gonna just go straight into it. I'm coming to you from sunny Denmark. We do have a few clouds, but I don't think we're gonna get any rain. I'm praying to the lords out there that we're not gonna have any rain, because I was gonna go for a run later and I don't want to do that in rain. So today's podcast I think it's gonna be a bit short one, because I've not made a lot of progress on the works in progresses that I showed you guys last time. And the main reason behind that is what I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on just talking through right now, because I think it's something that we can all perhaps learn something from. And basically, to make a long story short, I don't have any finished objects, and I basically have more works in progresses than I did last time I spoke to you guys, which is only like 14 days ago. So that's not a lot. That's not very good. It's not the best progress ever to be made. But I'll just be honest with you guys, my knitting mojo, my knitting motivation completely vanished on me. Like it vanished. It vanished on me. It just disappeared. And I could not for the life of me focus on one project at a time. Like it was not working out for me. And I think it's something that we or all experience once or twice or maybe a lot, but it's the first time that it really happened to me, or at least for such a long period, because we're talking like 12 days or something like that, where I've just not been able to focus on one piece of knitting. So I thought I'd talk about this topic a bit, because as I just said, I think a lot of us actually come across this experience, but I also think that I've learned some valuable lessons from it that I'm gonna give on to you guys, so that maybe you don't make the same mistakes as I've done, or I don't know, but at least maybe you're gonna get a little bit smarter from it, and also I'm gonna put all my frustration out there and probably, hopefully, not have them all inside of me. With me today on this very big mess over here that we're gonna get back to at some point, I have a cup of coffee, because the weather in Denmark is finally getting cold enough to wear long jeans, knitted socks, drinking hot beverages again. And I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it. So, story time. Last time I spoke to you guys, I was very upset with the fact that my Sea of Love cardigan had to be frocked. I simply didn't have enough yarn to finish it. And that was a true bummer. I was not happy about that. And honestly, directly after posting that video, the last video I posted, I just couldn't be bothered with the whole knitting anymore. I don't want to say I gave up. I didn't throw the towel in the ring or anything like that. I just couldn't be faced with more knitting. And I think it was just a culmination of every failed project that I've done throughout the past few months. So if you haven't been here from the start, then my intention for this podcast was that while I had no job, which I do now, I was gonna knit exclusively from my stash, which was only acrylic yarn with the exception of a small quantity of wool and a little bit larger quantity of cotton. But primarily it was acrylic yarn, very nice acrylic yarn, but acrylics. And I had no problem with this. It was a challenge I put myself up for. I enjoy it. But I've learned through this experience that I might not be as okay with acrylic as I put myself out there to be. So this has nothing to do with the fact that it's acrylic. It has nothing to do with any of the fiber content or anything like that. The only thing that I have against it that I just found out is that I don't like how it's so much lighter than a matching weight wool blend, for example. And I know that there's a difference in acrylics or acrylic yarn, but at least the yarn that I have is very, very light. It doesn't weigh anything. And that seems to, I don't want to say it has been a problem for me, but it's definitely a theme going on in this podcast, that I don't like the way garments look, drape, feel, due to their due to the weight of the yarn, basically, and not like the thickness of the yarn, but the actual weight of the yarn. So instead of you guys going back through all of the videos, figuring out what kind of projects I've started with acrylic yarn, I thought I'd just make a little summary right now so that you can get an idea of how many failed projects I've tried making, or how many failed projects I've had throughout this period since I started my knitting podcast, because I believe it's only like a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, that I started this knitting podcast, and I've made too many failed projects for it to be somewhat decent. So I'll just say them out loud. Then if you're interested in the patterns, just go back to the other video. But I'll list them, and we're not going to go into detail about them. It's just to say it failed, and it was just a drop in the glass every time a project failed. So the first one is Sara, which is a summer top by Sari Nordlund. I made this from some white acrylic. And again, if you want to see all of this yarn, go back to the very first video that I ever posted. I explain all about the yarn there. I don't want to take the time for it now. But it was the Sara Summer Top by Sari Nordlund, the acrylic yarn. Again, very light. There wasn't any drape to it. It was like when you knit it, that was how it looked. There was no structure to it. There was just, I didn't like the way it looked, so I chose to frock it. Luckily, I didn't knit a lot of it, but I did knit quite a bit of rib, so I was quite upset with having to frock it. But nevertheless, that was the first failed project. Then we had the Crispin cardigan by Filcolana. And for starter, this wasn't actually the yarn's fault that, it wasn't because I disliked the yarn that I had to frock this. For this pattern, I didn't quite understand the charts of the pattern. There was just numbers that didn't add up to me, so I gave up. But I actually planned that I was gonna knit a skirt with this green yarn that I had used. I don't know if I said that. I used green acrylic. Again, go back to the first video. I was gonna knit a skirt with it, but the more I looked at this color, the more I started doubting if I'd ever actually want to wear, first of all, a skirt in this color, but then a garment in this color. And I think I've come to the conclusion that green, or at least this green, is not a color that I want to be close to my face. I don't think it suits my pale reddish skin tone. That might just be me exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think I'm ever gonna pull it out of the closet and wear it. So I don't think I'm gonna knit any garment out of it. I am considering just starting to make a little bit of baby garments, not because I'm pregnant, don't get too into it, and probably just donate it to charity, just because I think it would be a shame if this yarn went to waste. But I am personally not gonna be getting any use of any garments that I make out of them, and then I don't want to make my size garments for them to just hang in a closet. I'd rather give it away. Next up on the list of failed projects was the Skimmer socks by Sheila Tromberg. Trustworthy notes here. Trustworthy? Trusty notes? I don't know anymore. But the Skimmer socks by Sheila Tromberg. And these are some no-show socks. It's basically, I don't want to disregard her pattern or anything, but it's basically just a sock. It's a regular sock pattern, but it shows you how to like not make the gusset all the way up to the arch of your foot. It's very nicely written, nothing there. And this time it actually wasn't the yarn that was the problem, or the fact that I didn't have enough yarn, because that's also a thing we're gonna touch upon. But I knit the sock too short, so the length of the foot was just too short in comparison to what my foot needs. And I think I was just so frustrated at this point because I had already frocked so much, or I say so much, it was two, but you get the point. Like when you frock things, you're just so demotivated by it. And then when this sock didn't fit, I was just like, no. So the next project that I had to frock was a self-drafted t-shirt that obviously I had drafted myself, a v-neck t-shirt, and I tried making it in the white acrylic yarn that I also tried making the Sara by Sara Nordlund. And once again, there was no drape to it. The yarn is way too light. It just didn't sit right. So I chose to frock it, and that's what it is, basically. Next up, we have the Sea of Love cardigan. I'm not really going to go into detail about that. You can go back and watch the last episode if you want to see my heart broken yet again. But the main, or the only reason why this had to be frocked was because I don't have enough yarn to finish it. And it's a yarn that you can't really get anywhere anymore because it's discontinued, and it was sold in a supermarket here in Denmark, so not a lot of people have it just laying around. Another failed project. So since the last time I filmed this podcast, since the last time I filmed, this podcast, oh boy, I cast on one more project, which is the variety sweater from Drops Design. Basically, right after I had uploaded the last episode, Drops released this whole collection of fall items, and there are so many gorgeous sweaters and cardigans in there. And I just had to cast on the variety sweater because it just looked so gorgeous. But as I had knit half of the body and one sleeve, I came to realize I didn't have enough yarn. And it seems like that is a returning problem I have with knitting from stash. I just don't have enough yarn to actually finish items that I'd want to wear. So that had to be frocked too. And I just think that all of these failed projects, they were all drops in a glass of water, and the Sea of Love cardigan and the variety sweater just were the two drops that made the whole glass overflow. So I lost all motivation to knit, or I didn't really lose motivation to knit, I just lost my ability to focus on a knit to get it done, because maybe, and this is just me guessing, maybe psychologically, I was skeptic of knitting on anything because I was like, well, I'm probably not gonna finish. It's probably gonna fail anyway, so why should I knit on it? And I want to say that I handled this whole loss of motivation very nicely, but let's just be honest, I truly didn't. Like at all. So the way that my lack of motivation was showing itself was that I was not really able to focus on just one project at a time, or like any project at a time, basically. I know that some people, when they lose the motivation to knit, they just completely stop. I didn't. I still wanted to knit. It's what I do to relax, but I just couldn't focus. Like, I couldn't just sit down and knit on one project and actually give myself to this one project. So for example, like what actually happened was that I would be sitting down and I would be knitting on my Karl Johan sweater, and I'd probably knit like 3 rounds, and the Karl Johan right now is just plain stockinette in the round. There's no thinking at all. And after 2 or 3 rounds, I would get bored of it and I didn't want to work on it anymore. Then I'd find like a sock that I was working on, and I'd knit a few rounds on that, and that wouldn't really entertain me either. Then I would go on to Ravelry, and I would look up new patterns because, oh, new and exciting, maybe that will keep me interested. And then, like so many other times, I then stopped and I was like, no, you have projects. You gotta finish these projects before you cast on something else. Why are you so stupid? Why can't you just focus on these projects that you already have? So I'd go back to my Karl Johan sweater. I'd knit a few rounds again. I'd get bored. I'd go back onto Ravelry because I just can't be bothered with this stockinette thing. And then I'd find a pattern and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna cast this on because this is new and this is exciting and this is where my interests are. So I cast it on. 5 minutes later, oh, this is so boring. I don't want to do this anymore. Let me find something else. Go back to Ravelry, find something else, cast it on, be bored with it, go back to my Karl Johan sweater, knit a few rounds, be bored with it, come to terms with me being bored of knitting, and then being mad about myself being tired of knitting. So it was a very terrible spiral right there. Like, I wish I had just been like, well, I'm just not gonna knit. I'm gonna do some coloring on my phone. I'm gonna play some Stardew Valley, something else, rather than just sitting there trying to knit, even though I just couldn't focus on actually knitting anything. So guys, if you ever experience that, like if you feel like you lose motivation to knit, but yet you really want to knit, my best advice to you is just stop. Just put it away for a few days. Don't try to cast on something new because you think it's gonna motivate you more. Just don't. So, I think we're done with the whole I lost motivation sort of aspect of this video. So I'm gonna go right into the podcast items of this. So we're gonna talk works in progress. I can hear a gardener outside. I think he's walking around chopping some grass. I'm not really sure. He has a machine. I can hear it at some points, but then it goes away. So I don't hope it's gonna be bad for you if he actually comes around. I'm sorry, guys. That's how it is to live in apartments. I don't control when the gardener is here. Both very lovely and a little bit annoying, but it's a very stupid problem to have, isn't it? So I have 3 works in progress, and they're right over here because I am a professional now, guys. I don't have things on the floor. It's on the desk. And not the desk you're on, but this is not even a desk, is it? It's like a storage. There's yarn in here. But nevertheless, I think I'm just gonna go very briefly over the works in progress, just because one, which is the only one that's actually kind of interesting, you've already seen, and the other ones are not that amusing. let's be honest. So, I'm moving now. It's gonna make a lot of noise. We're back. First work in progress is the Johan sweater. I showed you guys this last time. It's by Knitting for Olive. I forgot to tell you. It's a very turtlenecky. The turtleneck is actually supposed to be longer than this, but I don't like that. It's just a very basic turtleneck sweater. There's no decreases in the sleeve, there are no decreases in the body, it's just round and round and round. Last time I had separated for the sleeves, and as you can tell, it's still separated for the sleeves. I think I've knit 4 centimeters on the body, and then I've started one sleeve because I needed something that didn't take me like 10 minutes to come around. So now we're knitting the sleeve, and I only just picked this up a few days ago again. Otherwise it's just been sitting in a chair waiting for me to pull myself together. So I'm knitting this Johan sweater in a mega ball from Hobby, or from We Love Yarn. It's a 100% acrylic yarn, and this is in colorway 427. And I have nothing bad to say about this yarn. It's very soft, it's very nice, and also there's actually some weight to it, although it's not nearly the same as if it would have been a wool blend. But it is very nice, it's very soft. The stitch definition is very lovely. And I'm pretty sure I said last time that I was going to be done with the sleeves for this podcast, and here we are, 5 centimeters into the sleeve. But stuff happened, you know? Stuff happened. Putting that away, that was the most interesting one, so that shows a bit of how interesting everything else is. So the next work in progress I've cast on, and I think you guys, I don't know if you guys are gonna laugh at me because it's not really funny, but it clearly shows how I just really wanted something else to work on than my Johan sweater. So I cast on, and this is like, this is teeny tiny. It's supposed to be a lot bigger, but as I said, I haven't really knit on it, and I don't want to just rip it out because I actually want the piece that it's going to create. But this is the start of a star-shaped pillow. I'll insert a link or a photo of it, and it's a pattern called, what's it called? I don't have it written down. I think it's called the Sternkissen. And even though it sounds German, the pattern is in English, or at least it's also in English, and it's from a designer called Gudrun Ohle. Maybe it's written. It's a very nice pattern. It's basically just stockinette, and then you increase, so it creates this like 5-sided shape. Then you make 2 of these, then you put them together, and then you knit the little points with the 2 sides actually put together. So I think it's going to be very entertaining. For this, I'm using the terrible acrylic that I was talking about in the very first episode. I finally found a use for it. I'm excited about it. It's actually knitting up quite nicely in this, so I'm kind of annoyed with it, but nevertheless, I'm not sure I'm gonna keep the pillow once it's finished. Maybe I'm gonna donate it to charity. I'm considering using some of the yarn of this quality, chopping it into small bits and pieces and using it as stuffing, because I have a lot of this yarn and I don't know what to use it for, but we'll see. Probably gonna donate this to charity. Maybe I'll give it to my dog Bella so she has a new toy to bite in, but I'm not that pleased with her eating plastic fibers, which acrylic is, and she is gonna eat it. She's not just a biter, she's a chewer. She's gonna eat it. But that was the second work in progress I have. And then the last one is some socks. There's stitch markers in this. I finished one sock, I still need the other sock. And this is some socks for my mother. Because she requested them. She bought me a lot of sock yarn and was like, I want socks, knit me socks. I have this perfect recipe for her foot, and basically the socks just fit perfectly. So she wants more of them. So this is a 64 stitch sock. I've done a heel flap and gusset. The heel flap has this Eye of Partridge design on it. And other than that, it's just simple vanilla, basically. The yarn I've used for this is also some of the yarn I'm going to show you guys in a few seconds. It is the Happy Toes by Hobby in colorway 3. In colorway 3. Yeah, there's not a lot more to say about this sock. It's just a nice, easy, mindless thing for me to be making, basically. That was all of the works in progress I have right now. And these are all works in progress that are gonna be finished. Like, I'm not gonna frog any of this. Something really has to go wrong in order for me to frog this. So we're not gonna do that. Maybe, wait, am I double crossing now? Does that? I'm gonna single cross it. It's gonna be done now. Hopefully it's gonna be done. Crossing everything that can be crossed. And I'd like these to get done before the end of September, or at least just the Karl Johan sweater. I'm pretty sure that the sock is going to be done because I'm going to cast on the other sock like tomorrow or something, or when I'm TV knitting later today. But I would really love the Karl Johan sweater to be done, finished, out of the way before October comes. I start work by the 3rd of October, and I'd love it if I had no large projects on the needle by that time, because I don't think I'll be able to focus on knitting when I get home from a 7 to 5 day. I don't think that's gonna happen, and I don't want to pressure myself into having unfinished objects that are just staring at me. So the Karl Johan sweater needs to be done. I'm putting my effort into getting it done, crossing my fingers. I would love it if the star pillow was also finished, but if it isn't, then I won't really mind. It's more like a cute little lingering project that I knit 1 or 2 rows on whenever I just feel like it. And then the socks I really want them done, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think I have to like put time aside specifically for the sock, because I knit socks everywhere and I enjoy them, so I'm not that scared of it. Right, so other than my Karl Johan sweater that I want to have finished before October, I also have another object that I want finished before October that I haven't even started yet. And there's a good reason for that, and I'm gonna tell you guys. But first, I'm gonna tell you what it is I'm gonna be knitting. I'm gonna be knitting a Ranunculus, and I can't remember the designer of this, even though it's a really famous pattern. I'll insert a photo of it and also the designer's name, don't worry. I've seen this everywhere the past few years, like everyone's knitting a Ranunculus, and now it's my turn. But unluckily for me, it's not for myself I'm knitting it, it is for my mother. So my mother is turning 60 on the 8th of October, and as well as some other things, I'd love to give her something handmade, made with love, and it's gonna be a Ranunculus. because I think that it's a very nice layering piece, and my mother is a layerer. She loves layering items, and I think this would just be a very classic, very almost modern but subtle addition to her layering. So I'm excited for that. The yarn I'm going to be using is this Drop Salima in colorway 6235. It's just very nice light jeans blue, I want to say. It's really nice. I sent my father a link to all of these colors, and I was like, choose one that you think she's gonna like. So he picked this one, and I totally agree with him. I think she's gonna actually wear this. Now the Ranunculus calls for a gauge of, I think it's called 14 stitches per 10 centimeters. And this one has a stitch gauge of 21 stitches per 10 centimeters. Now the Ranunculus is knit with a 6mm needle, and I'm gonna be making a gauge swatch with this just right after recording this so I can get started with a 6mm, and I'm seeing how close I can get to the 14 stitches without this being too airy, too open and wide. But I think it's gonna be okay. I've seen quite a lot of projects on Ravelry where they use DK weight wool yarn on 6mm needles, and it turned out wonderfully. Worst case scenario, I will be knitting a few sizes up so I don't have to hit gauge exactly, and it'll just work out the way it does. But I'm super excited about it. I've been waiting for this yarn like for over a week now, and it finally arrived. So it's story time, okay? Grab your knitting. Well, if you aren't already knitting, I don't know what you're doing. Grab your drink and just take a sip with me. Because now we're gonna be spilling some tea. Because I ordered yarn, which is what you see here. And that was including this yarn for the Ranunculus for my mother. I ordered this from a site called Rito? I don't know. I think it's a Danish store, but I know that they do ship basically internationally, so I don't know if it's actually Danish or they just have an office in Denmark. I don't know. But anyway, I ordered from them, and I ordered like 19 balls of yarn, and I did that last Tuesday, I think it was. And on their website they're like, oh, we have 1 to 2 days delivery. We pack the same day as you order if you order before 7 p.m. And I was so excited because I was like, oh, that means I can buy this yarn and I'll probably have it like by the end of the week. Imagine that. So I ordered it. And I don't know if you can tell where this is going, but it did not arrive by the end of the week. And it did not arrive in the weekend. And it did not arrive Monday or Tuesday this week, the week that we're in now. And I don't want to say I was upset with it, because it is truly a first world problem. Like, I shouldn't even be complaining about it. But you know, it's just the fact that you're promised a speedy delivery and then you wait for over a week and it doesn't arrive. So yesterday the post office, I called them and I was like, when is this gonna be delivered? Because I can see that you have it. When are you gonna deliver it? I'm waiting for it. I've been waiting for it for like 5 days now. Well, there was something went wrong, so they sorted it wrong, so it's probably only gonna be delivered tomorrow. And then I was like, no, you've had my package for 4 days now. You're not today telling me that you sorted something wrong and you can't deliver it today. And the poor guy, the poor worker, that I was talking to was like, well, there's not a lot to do about it. I'm sorry that you have this experience, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like such a bad person because I was so frustrated with it because I just wanted the yarn. But then I wrote to Rito where I purchased it, and I was like, listen, okay, fair enough, you guys are busy, but if you promise me 1 to 2 days of delivery and it takes over a week, like over 7 days, that's not even, that's more than twice as long as you guys promised me. And basically they wrote back and they were like, I'm sorry, we were busy. I'm sorry you had this experience. We don't hope it's gonna affect the way that you purchase from us in the future. And then I swear, like 20 minutes after they answered my email, I got a message from the post office like, hey, you can come pick up your order now. Like, really? I've just been bitching to both the post office and the place where I ordered this, and now you're telling me I can come pick it up. I could have saved so much bitching for other things. That's so annoying, you know? Okay, story time over. I got my yarn, no worries, and everything was in the order, so I'm very pleased. Like, my biggest thought was, okay, I'm gonna pick it up now, and probably I'm gonna be missing like 2 skeins or something, and I'm gonna have to send it all back. But that didn't happen. I'm sorry, I just went a little crazy there. Still a little bit frustrated about it. So, in my order from Rito, which by the way, it was a bargain. Like, they had, I think Drops probably had like an alpaca sale, which was also on Rito then. So every ball of Drops yarn that contained alpaca was like 50% off. So this was a bargain. Let me show you what I got. So I have 8 balls of this Drops Lima yarn for the Ranunculus. I have 8 balls of that, which is like 50 gram balls. Yeah, 50 gram balls, which is it's roughly like 100 meters in total, and I think I'm probably gonna need like 600 meters to make one for my mother, but then I have some spare because it would be terrible to run out of yarn from the Ranunculus. I ordered some Drops Nord, and I think, honestly, I think I got 1 skein of this for like $1.50 US. It's just quick math in my head. I think it was like $1.50 US. But anyway, this is fingering weight yarn, and I got 4 balls of it in this lovely gray, which is colorway 6. Then I got 4 balls of it in this beige color, that is colorway 7. Then I got 2 balls of it in this gorgeous reddish rose, dusty red pink sort of vibe in colorway 21. So it's gonna look like this. Can you see it? I hope so. And I have plans for this, but I'm gonna talk to you guys about it later. That's what I'm trying to say. But I think that was all the Drops I ordered. That was like 18 skeins or 18 balls of Drops. And then I also ordered from Rito this gorgeous, like absolutely gorgeous sock yarn. A skein of sock yarn from Nordic Sky Bergen in color 3. And this is set to be a lace weight yarn. I do think it's a little bit thinner than my other sock yarn. I can just try to compare the two. No, I think it's probably like the same thickness or something. Is that too close to you? I'm sorry. But yeah, so I purchased this as well, and this was also on sale. It was like 60% off. So I saved a lot for this too. Buy this, from this, I don't know. And it looks gorgeous. It looks really pretty, and I'm excited to knit with it. I just wanted to show you guys before removing the label and unwinding it and rewinding, caking it, which of course I'll have to do by hand because I don't have a cake winder. Of course, right? Yay. No, but all of those yarn, all of this yarn from Rito, I got for roughly $44 US dollars. It's like 320-ish Danish crowns. And that's including shipping. So I got like 19 balls of yarn for that amount of money. So that is, for me, that is a total bargain. And I am super excited about it. And no, I haven't gotten my first paycheck yet, but you know, some of it is a birthday present, the other one is a birthday present for me. Even though my birthday is in January, but we won't talk about that. Other than that, because I have more yarn up here, just put this away now. Other than that, I also have quite a bit of sock yarn that my mother brought me. Now this is not for me. This is not for socks for me. It's for socks for her because we finally entered wool sock season here in Denmark. And as I said, I have this perfect pattern for her feet. So I'm gonna knit her a lot of socks and she can't knit socks herself. So it's a win-win situation. I get to knit and she gets socks. So she also has this happy socks from Hobie. All of this is from Hobie, by the way. Or at least it has been ordered from Hobie, all of the sock yarn. It's in colorway 5. It's this very cute little skein. I don't know, it should be 50 grams, but I feel like this is so much smaller than the other 50 gram skeins. But it's probably just winded up a bit more tight. Winded up a bit more tightly. So you already seen this, which is the one I'm making a sock off of currently. Then we have this, oh no, if anyone's sensitive, please close your ears now because I'm gonna make a joke and it's not for sensitive ears. This is sock yarn from Mayflower in the colorway Uranus or Uranus. That was a joke. You can start listening again if you stop listening. And also, yes, sock yarn, 50 gram ball. Socks for my mother. And then lastly, I found this in the charity store. It is a sock yarn from, this is also by Mayflower. It's Bumbo by Mayflower. In colorway 131, and the label is kind of disgusting. But we're gonna go with it. It smells like nothing, so I'm not so scared of it. But that was all of the yarn that I've acquired since last time. That's a lot compared to the fact that this podcast was going to be all about using the yarn that you have. And now I'm basically using all of the yarn that I've purchased. So I'm sorry, but I'm not, because I really think this is a good bargain for all of this yarn and I'm excited for it. Now for the drop snort, it's almost falling down. There's a specific project in mind for this, and I don't know if you guys have guessed it yet. If you are active on YouTube, which I assume you are, if you're active on Ravelry, which I think most of us are, and also if you're active on Instagram, you probably haven't missed the event that's gonna happen, which includes 3 colors, where you need 200 grams of one contrast, 200 grams of another contrast, and 100 grams of a accent. And I'm just gonna spoil it now. It's gonna be the mystery knit along hosted by Stephen West. It's gonna run in October. It's a shawl knit along, and I've never participated in it before. So I'm actually kind of excited. I thought it would be a great little I don't want to say easy project because I really think I'm gonna struggle at some points, but I thought it would be a nice project to have as I start work, because you get a clue every week and then you basically just knit that clue, and then you have to wait until the next time or the next week to get a new clue. So I think it would be great because that leaves me with like an entire week to finish one section of the shawl before the new clue comes. So this is basically going to be like the only thing I'm going to be knitting on for October, which is going to be good because I think I'm going to be totally smashed when I get home every day. But I think you guys can obviously tell me what you guys think, but I think this colorways or these colors matching together are going to be so lovely. I was considering doing a traditional like Stephen West kind of thing where he does like two kind of muted and then one just color pop, and he really loves colors. I was considering doing that, but then again I was also like, well, I kind of want to wear it when I'm done doing it, and these colors I know for a fact I will be wearing them afterwards. So this is what we're gonna go with. And I am excited. I'm very excited. I want it to be October right now, even though that would mean that I would have to hurry up and get everything else done, and I can't. So maybe it's good. Oh, my nose is so itchy. It's from my hair. Then also Bella is just shedding everywhere. Like my pants are filled with Bella hair, and I think even my hair is filled with Bella hair, so they're everywhere. But I think that was it for this knitting podcast. I am gonna stick with you guys a little bit longer because I have some footage that I'm gonna show you guys, and it's from Copenhagen, and I hope you guys are gonna enjoy it because I actually spent, there was a fly right here. I actually had to remind myself to record this for you. So hope you're gonna enjoy it. But nevertheless, if you're not here for all of the social context and watching Copenhagen from a tourist point of view, then I'm very glad that you watched through this. I'm sorry that I was rambling a bit, but I think we can all learn from it. And I also just want to share my experiences with you guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said earlier, you can find me on Instagram as simplyvanilla.stitching, where I basically just post everything that's just going on. Some days I post nothing, some days I post like every 30 minutes. It depends. But anyway, thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to me if you want to stick around for the next one. It sounds like so rude to be like, oh, remember to subscribe and give it a like. Because obviously that's your own choice. But thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys next time. All right, so I'm still here, so I'm gonna be talking for a bit more if you're interested in me rambling about my life experiences. That sounds very dramatic, but what I experienced in my daily life, is that better? So a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, we were in Copenhagen, me and my husband. We went there to meet his host family from when he was abroad for a summer. I think it was in 2015 he was abroad, so that's 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago. And basically we went there to visit them before they went on their trip, and it was very lovely. I've never met them before, and I was very surprised to see how nice and welcoming people they were. It was absolutely amazing getting to meet them and talking to them, and they were just the nicest, sweetest couple that I kind of want to say that I've ever met. They were just so loving. It was so gorgeous. Like I really understand why my husband wanted to travel to Copenhagen to see them for a few hours. I truly understand. They were the best people. They brought us cheese. So they're called Jean and Jeff. I'm not going to share any more personal information about them, but they're from Wisconsin. And from what I understand, Wisconsin is like the cheese state. And don't hang me up on that. Like, don't hang me up. Is that something you say when it's not in Denmark? So we say like, don't hang me up on it. I don't know, but basically, of what I could understand, Wisconsin is like the cheese state, so they have a lot of cheese. And they brought us a lump of cheese. So they had it in their carry-ons on the plane. And then when we walked around with them, suddenly Jeff took out this piece of cheese from his carry-on, and they were like, this is a souvenir from Wisconsin. They also had a Green Bay Watchers cap. I don't know if I just butchered that completely. I actually don't remember, but I think it's a... No, I don't even want to get started what sport it's from. I don't know. My husband likes them. He got a cap from it, and then we also got some sweetened dried cranberry. And in Denmark, it's not normal to sweeten dried cranberries, so that was very impressive too. And we also got a chocolate bar. So they were really generous for us, or with us. I don't know. But going back to Copenhagen, because that's probably why you're here. So we started off, and I have some footage, so I'm going to insert it at the same time. So basically we started off at the railway station, so the central station, where we also arrived because we're from Odense, so we took the train there. And then we stood there just waiting for them, because they had to go from the airport and to the central station. They finally arrived. It was gorgeous. It was a lovely day. So we walked there, we walked from the central station to the Queen's Palace. And the Queen's Palace is just, it's absolutely gorgeous. There's this big waterfall kind of statuesque thing. I don't really know what you guys call it. There's the marble church. It's very gorgeous as well. And then we have these Danish guards, so it's like the royal guards. And we saw them changing positions or changing like the shift. It was very nice. And just Copenhagen in general, it's a really lovely city. I don't think I would ever be able to live there, but it's quite lovely to visit there, to be a tourist. It was very nice. We met up with another woman who had also been abroad and lived with them in Wisconsin. And she actually lived in Copenhagen, and she was not from there, so she was a foreigner. Of course, still from Denmark, but she moved to Copenhagen, and she was like, you get used to it. You fall in love with it, and I can see how you can fall in love with it. It was when you ignore the amount of people that are there, it's such a gorgeous city. There's a lot of quiet places, which you wouldn't really believe because it's Copenhagen and it's filled with people. But there was, and it was actually very nice. We had food at this very typical Danish restaurant, where Jean and Jeff both got like these, I don't even know how to explain it, but in Denmark we have this very traditional dish that's called smørrebrød. And basically, like, that probably sounded like rubbish to you, but basically it's like a piece of bread and then there's a lot of topping on top. That's basically what it is. So it's either rye bread with a whole bunch of topping or a piece of toast bread with a whole bunch of topping. And they got that with fish. So Denmark is, I don't know if Denmark is known for their fish, but it's a traditional thing that we eat here in Denmark. And they seem to enjoy it. They seem to be quite jet-lagged, but they seem to enjoy it. Unfortunately, my husband and I had to go home pretty early, so we were only there for like 5 hours, but it was definitely so lovely, and we are now kind of planning to go to Wisconsin next summer, just because we've shown them Copenhagen now, then they can show us where they're from. And yeah, I think that's the most incredible thing that has happened. I don't want to say this year because that would be overly dramatic yet again, but it was definitely a very nice experience, and they are very lovely people, and I am very pleased that I've met them. It was really a nice experience. So that was my last week, or the week before that. This week, nothing extremely happened. I've been home a lot. I've been walking a lot because the weather is finally cold enough to be able to walk, and I am a walker. I love it. Game of Thrones is still going strong. We're actually enjoying it. It's actually quite a nice series, and I didn't think I'd like it this much, but I actually really do. I still close my eyes when there are all of these pornographic scenes and when people are getting their hand chopped off and stuff like that. But other than that, it's a very nice series, and I love the way that there are multiple storylines that are all aligned with each other, sort of. So 10 out of 10 if you need some good TV watching and you're into this whole fantasy, medieval sort of thing, give it a go. If you haven't already, I think most people have probably given Game of Thrones a chance by this time. It is 10 years old, the first season. Another fancy thing happening is that this weekend I was gonna make breakfast. We're gonna have some balls from the oven, and it was gonna be it's gonna be a nice, quiet Sunday. And I took the balls out of the oven. I was gonna put the rack back into the oven, and my mind forgot that the rack was warm. Like, it had just been in a 200°C warm oven, and I just grab it with my fingers and I'm about to put it in, and I didn't really realize it until I had it mid-air that it was warm. So basically, like, I took it from the table, I held it up, and then I was about to put it in the oven when my hands just started burning. So I have, luckily they're not hurting anymore now, they're just like swollen blisters basically. Sorry, TMI, but it doesn't hurt anymore, and I can actually use my fingers. That was quite a problem the first few days. So I have quite a bad burn wound here, and then I have quite a bad burn wound on these two right here. And other than that, I think most of them has gone away. But like, my hands were in pain for so many hours. Like, I think the first 3 hours, I just sat with my hands in a little bowl of cold water, and I was just, oh, it hurts. It was very pathetic. But it's all better now. Everything is good. Bella is good. Nothing to report there. She's shedding. But that's what dogs do. Yeah, I think that was it, guys. I think that was it for this episode. There wasn't that much knitting content in it because life happened. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Next time I will, maybe it's gonna be in a week, maybe it's gonna be in 2 weeks, we don't really know. I am considering making this video about finding, or like how to make socks for gifts. So if you don't know the actual size of their foot, if you don't really have a measuring tape and measuring their foot, I'm considering doing that just because it's a video that I would have enjoyed to have back when I first started knitting socks. So I'm considering making that. But other than that, I will see you in 1 or 2 weeks, and I'll hopefully have a Ranunculus finished and a Karl Johan sweater finished. At least if it's 2 weeks from now. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I don't have a lot more to say. Thank you. Give me a subscribe. Give me a subscribe. Subscribe if you want to get notifications of when I upload yet again. And other than that, just be well, keep calm. That sounds so ridiculous. I'm so bad at this. Like, how do you stop a podcast? I'm sorry. Thank you very much for watching. You can go follow me on Instagram at simplyvanilla.stitching. I will truly try to be better at posting there frequently instead of just sporadically whenever I feel like it. I'll try. Can't promise anything, but thank you very much for watching. I really truly appreciate it, and I will see you in 1 or 2 weeks depending on how well my progress goes. So have a lovely day and have a lovely fall.